You ever have someone walk into your life so unexpectedly that it almost feels like a glitch in your own story? Like 1 second you're living your ordinary life, and the next, you're standing in front of someone who'll quietly rewrite every rule you thought you had. That's what happened to me. And if I'm honest, I still don't know if I was lucky, cursed, or both. I wasn't looking for her. I wasn't looking for anything, really. I was just existing, working, meeting people, surviving the noise of the city. But the night I met her, everything paused. You know that strange silence that hits when you realize your world just tilted? That's exactly what it felt like. She was standing across the room at an industry event, laughing, really laughing. The kind of laugh that doesn't ask for attention but gets it anyway. Everyone around her seemed to orbit her energy. She had this presence, this gravity. When our mutual friend introduced us, I didn't even recognize her. I didn't watch superhero shows. I didn't realize she'd already been on billboards and streaming platforms. To me, she was just her, confident, unfiltered, dangerous in the way people are when they don't care if you like them or not. We talked for maybe 10 minutes, but it felt like 10 chapters. I remember her eyes, sharp but warm, and the way she leaned in when she listened. Like she actually heard people, not just waited for her turn to speak. That night, nothing happened. No sparkly movie moment, but a few days later she texted me. "You seemed real." That's rare. It started like that. A few texts, then long calls, then late-night hangouts that blurred into mornings. We told each other everything and nothing at once. She was magnetic, unpredictable, and lonely in a way that fame never shows. I didn't fully understand it then, but I could feel it, that subtle ache beneath her laughter. She once told me, "People love my characters, but not me." I didn't know how to respond. I just sat there, holding the silence between us like it was something fragile. Things escalated naturally, not because we planned it, but because not letting it happen felt impossible. We became whatever you'd call it when two people are more than friends but refuse to label it. Friends with benefits? Maybe. But it was deeper than that. We were two souls trying to hide from our own chaos in each other's company. We'd meet at her place, a quiet, tucked-away apartment with blackout curtains and a view of the skyline that looked almost unreal at night. We'd cook, talk about stupid things, watch movies she'd starred in but pretended to hate. Sometimes she'd fall asleep mid-conversation, and I'd just watch her breathe. There were moments when I'd forget who she was out there. To me, she was just this messy, complicated human who drank cold coffee and sang off-key in the shower. But fame is a tricky thing. It's like gravity. You can ignore it for a while, but eventually, it pulls everything into its orbit. There were times her phone would buzz endlessly. Producers, agents, journalists. She'd throw it face down and whisper, "Let's just be invisible for tonight." And I'd nod, pretending I didn't notice how hard she was trying to escape her own reflection. It wasn't love. At least not the kind that asks for forever. It was something quieter. Two people meeting in the dark, knowing daylight would take it all away. But the more time we spent together, the more I started seeing cracks. The sudden mood shifts, the exhaustion behind her eyes, the way she'd vanish for days, then come back like nothing happened. One night, she said something that still haunts me. She whispered, "If people knew who I really was, they'd never look at me the same." I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't want to break the spell. But that sentence, it lingered. And deep down I knew, one day, I'd find out exactly what she meant. And when I did, everything between us would change. There's something strange about being close to someone the whole world thinks they already know. Everyone believed they'd seen her. The red carpet smiles, the late-night interviews, the perfect lighting. But what I saw was the after, the makeup wipes, the exhaustion, the quiet sobs she never wanted anyone else to hear. Fame looked beautiful from far away, but up close, it was cracked glass, and she was bleeding beneath it. Some nights she'd call me at 2 a.m. No words, just silence. I'd ask if she was okay. She'd whisper, "Can you just stay on the line?" And we didn't always talk. Sometimes silence said more than words ever could. Our relationship became this hidden rhythm, fleeting, unpredictable, but somehow steady. We were never official, never public, but the emotions were real. I was her secret comfort, and she was my chaos in disguise. She told me stories about the industry, not the glamorous ones, but the kind that make your stomach twist. About fake smiles, toxic contracts, directors who made promises they never kept. She'd laugh it off, say it was just part of the game, but I could feel the resentment underneath. One night, after a rap party, she showed up at my apartment. No makeup, eyes red. She didn't say hello. She just sat on the floor, leaned her head against the wall and muttered, "I can't do this anymore." I knelt down beside her, heart pounding. "Do what?" I asked. She looked at me, tears cutting through her mascara. "Pretend." That word hit harder than it should have. Because for a moment I realized, even with me, she was performing. Every laugh, every glance, every deflection. It was part of her armor. Still, I stayed. Because sometimes love, or whatever we had, isn't about understanding someone fully. It's about holding them through the parts you don't. Weeks turned into months, then years. We built this rhythm of connection and distance, like tides that knew when to crash and when to pull back. There were days she'd vanish completely, filming, traveling, finding herself, she'd say. And then suddenly, she'd reappear at my door like nothing had happened. I never questioned it. I should have, because every return came with a new secret. I started noticing small things. The calls she'd silence mid-ring, the way she'd flinch at unknown numbers, the anonymous gifts that showed up at her door. Once I found a letter on her table. No name, just a single line. "You can't hide forever." When I asked about it, she laughed. Too fast, too sharp. "Just a crazy fan," she said. But her hands trembled when she said it. There were moments when I almost walked away, like the time she canceled our plans to meet her agent. But someone sent me a photo. Her at a beach resort with someone else. My chest burned, but I stayed silent. Because I wasn't her boyfriend. I wasn't entitled to questions. Still, I couldn't shake the ache of being her secret. One night, during a storm, I asked her directly, "Why me? Out of everyone, why keep coming back to me?" She looked at me for a long time. Then she said quietly, "Because you never wanted anything from me. Everyone else wants a piece. You just let me be." And for a while that was enough. Until the night everything changed. It was after one of her biggest premieres, a superhero movie that broke records. Her face was everywhere. Interviews, talk shows, memes, even perfume ads. But when she came over that night, she looked like someone who'd lost everything. She walked in, dropped her bag, and said, "They don't know who I really am." I smiled weakly. That's kind of the point of acting, right? But she didn't laugh. Instead, she reached into her coat pocket and handed me a small flash drive. "Promise me you'll never open this unless something happens to me." I froze. "What do you mean something happens?" She didn't answer. She just placed it in my palm, closed my fingers around it, and whispered, "Just promise." That was the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. Not the kind you act out on screen, the kind that comes from knowing something you can't unknow. I promised, and part of me wishes I hadn't, because what was on that drive would later destroy everything I thought I knew about her. For weeks, That tiny flash drive sat on my nightstand like an unspoken curse. Every morning I'd see it, cold, silver, silent, and remind myself, don't open it. She asked you not to, but curiosity is a cruel companion. It whispers louder than reason, especially when silence stretches into absence. She went missing for a while. Again. No calls, no texts, no social media posts, just gone. At first I told myself she was filming, that she needed space. But then, headlines started popping up. Superhero star skips charity gala amid health concerns. Fans worried after actress deletes all posts. I reached out. Nothing. 3 days. Then 5. Then 10. That's when I broke my promise. The flash drive clicked open like a door I should have never touched. Inside was a single folder named Truth, and inside that, videos. Dozens of them. Some labeled, some not. I opened the first one. It was her, sitting on a couch, camera pointed at her face. No makeup, no performance, just raw honesty. "If you're watching this," she said, voice trembling, "then I guess I finally ran out of ways to hide." My heart raced. She talked about the industry, how fame wasn't an accident, but a system built on control. How powerful people decided who rose and who disappeared. She mentioned contracts that bind more than just careers, and how she'd tried to walk away. Once, her eyes darted around like she was afraid someone was listening. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "They told me if I ever spoke out, they'd ruin everyone connected to me. That includes you." I froze. She'd recorded this long before she handed me the drive. Long before I knew what kind of storm I'd stepped into. The next few videos got darker. Late-night rants. Tearful confessions. Mentions of a name. One she never said fully, just a letter or a whisper, and then a file simply titled, "Do Not Show." My hand shook as I clicked it open. The screen flickered. It was a recording from a film set, behind the scenes. But the tone wasn't playful or cinematic. The voices were low, tense, commanding. Hers was there too, arguing with someone off-screen. "You can't do this," she said. "This isn't part of the contract." A man's voice replied, deep and calm. "You signed more than you realize." There was a scuffle. The camera tilted. And then I'm static, my throat tightened. I slammed the laptop shut. The room felt smaller, colder. I tried to tell myself it was a scene, an outtake, maybe even a prank. But I knew her voice, and that fear, that wasn't acting. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound made me flinch. The creak of the floorboards, the hum of the fridge, even my own heartbeat felt too loud. The next morning, I tried calling her again. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Please, just tell me you're okay." No response. 2 days later, there was a knock at my door. Not hers. 2 men in suits stood outside, calm, polite, wrong. They introduced themselves as friends of hers. They said she'd traveled abroad for a wellness retreat and wanted to make sure I was okay. I asked how they knew about me. They smiled. Too practiced. Too cold. One of them said, "She mentioned you were close. I didn't let them in. They left." But not before one of them looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Sometimes it's better not to know the truth." After they left, I checked everything. The locks, the windows, even the laptop. The flash drive was gone. I swear I didn't lose it. I hadn't touched it since that night. But it was just gone that evening. I found a note slipped under my door. No name. No signature. Just one sentence. "If you care about her, forget she ever existed." I wanted to call the police. But what would I say? That I had a secret flash drive full of confessions from a missing actress who might have been blacklisted by her own industry. They'd think I was insane. So I did the only thing I could. I waited. And after 21 days, she came back, same smile, same warmth, same perfume that lingered a little too long, but her eyes were different. They looked at me like she'd never seen me before. The first thing I noticed was how still she was, not calm, controlled. The woman who used to fill every room with restless energy now moved like she'd rehearsed each gesture. Before walking through my door, she smiled. "You look surprised." "I am," I said. "You vanished for 3 weeks." "Work trip." Her tone was smooth, almost bored. "You know how it is." Except I didn't. She'd always overshared. Texts from set, selfies at airports, the late night I miss normal life calls. Now there was nothing. No hesitation, no warmth, just surface. I tried to play along, but every word felt like we were reading from different scripts. She made tea, hummed, asked about my job, and when I finally asked, "Are you okay?" she blinked like the question didn't make sense. Then she leaned forward. "Did anyone come here asking about me?" My chest tightened. 2 men. Said they were friends of yours. Her face didn't change, but something behind her eyes flickered. Panic, quickly buried. "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. I didn't trust them." "Good." She looked around the apartment, scanning corners, shadows, as if expecting microphones to blink awake. "Lois, if anyone else shows up, don't talk to them. Promise me." I hesitated. "I will if you tell me what's going on." She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "I can't." That word again. Can't. It sounded less like a refusal and more like a command branded into her. She stayed the night, but there was a glass wall between us now. When she thought I was asleep, I heard her pacing, whispering to someone on the phone. "Yes, she's fine." "No, she hasn't seen it. I'll handle it." It the flash drive. She knew it was gone. The next morning, she was gone too. No note, just the faint smell of her perfume on my pillow. Days passed. Then the world exploded. Headlines flooded every feed. Superhero star under investigation. Leaked footage raises questions about on-set misconduct. Clips circulated, grainy, distorted, but unmistakably her voice arguing with that same deep, calm man. The internet tore it apart. Conspiracy, scandal, sympathy, hate. Her team called it fake. Studios pulled statements. Lawyers denied everything. And me? I just sat there, staring at my empty nightstand, wondering how something that began as 2 people finding comfort in chaos had turned into this. A week later, she texted, "Meet me. Same place." It was the coffee shop where we'd first met after that party. She was already there, hoodie up, glasses on, face half hidden. When I sat down, she didn't waste time. "They know you had it," she said. "The drive. Then tell me what's on it, so I can understand what I'm in the middle of." She exhaled, trembling. "If I tell you, you'll have to choose between helping me and saving yourself." "Try me." She looked straight at me, really looked this time, and whispered, "That drive wasn't just proof. It was leverage, the kind that gets people erased." I swallowed hard. Erased how? Accidents, overdoses, unfortunate events. The machine cleans up its own mess. She paused, and I used it to buy my silence. It hit me then. She hadn't vanished to hide. She'd vanished to negotiate her own survival. She reached into her bag and slid a small envelope across the table. "If something happens again, take this to the address inside. Don't open it. Don't read it. Just deliver." I stared at it. "I'm not your courier. You're the only person I still trust." Then she stood. "And the only one they don't suspect. Yet." Before I could answer, she was gone again. Out the door, swallowed by traffic and flashing lights. That night, My apartment door stood slightly open. Nothing stolen, nothing broken. Just a single photograph on the kitchen counter, the two of us laughing, taken years ago at some random party. Across the bottom, in red marker, "She's not who you think she is." I stared at that photograph for a long time. The handwriting didn't match hers. The ink was still damp, bleeding slightly into the glossy surface. Whoever left it had been there recently, close enough to smell the coffee grounds still warm in my trash. The message looped in my head like static. "She's not who you think she is." I picked up the envelope she'd given me at the cafe, still sealed. My name wasn't on it, just an address written in her careful, looping script. Downtown, a place I didn't recognize. For hours I paced my apartment, debating whether to open it. Curiosity was clawing at me again, but fear whispered that every answer might cost me something. By midnight, curiosity won. Inside was a single key and a folded note. Unit 307, Harbor Storage. "If I'm gone, you'll find everything there." Everything. The word felt heavier than the key itself. The next morning I drove to the industrial district. Rain fell in sheets, blurring the skyline, turning the world into watercolor gray. The storage complex looked ordinary. Rows of metal doors, the hum of fluorescent lights. But the air felt charged. Unit 307 creaked open. Inside, boxes stacked neatly, labeled in her handwriting. Old scripts, clippings, a suitcase, and, at the back, a small safe. Same flash drive logo etched on its side. My pulse thudded in my throat. The safe's keypad was smeared with faint makeup. I tried her birthday. It clicked. Inside lay a folder marked backup and a worn leather notebook. The folder held contracts, emails, and a list of names, producers, executives, agents. Next to some were small red dots. The notebook was worse. Page after page of thoughts written in fragments. "They're watching the house again. Every favor costs another secret. Lois doesn't know. Keep her out." My breath hitched. At the very end, one line underlined twice. "If they find this, tell her to run." A sound behind me made me spin, just a clang of metal echoing down the corridor. But my instincts screamed leave. I grabbed the notebook and the folder, locked the unit, and bolted. Back in my car, I noticed a black SUV idling 2 rows away. No plates. Windows tinted too dark. The driver never looked at me, but I felt his eyes anyway. I drove aimlessly for an hour before pulling over near the waterfront. Waves slammed against the pier, wind howling like it wanted to warn me. I opened the folder again, scanning the names. One jumped out, Calder Reeves, a powerful producer tied to every film she'd done. I Googled him. The top result? A breaking news headline. Calder Reeves found dead in apparent suicide. The article was only a few hours old. My hands went cold. She'd said accidents, overdoses, unfortunate events. Was this one of them? Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number, a voice. Calm, male, familiar, Lois. "You have something that doesn't belong to you." My stomach dropped. "Who is this?" "You shouldn't have gone to Harbor Storage." "How do you—" The line went dead. When I looked up, the same SUV was parked across the street, engine running. I drove straight home, heart hammering. Everything in me wanted to burn that notebook, erase every trace, but one line in it kept echoing. "If they find this, tell her to run." So I packed a bag. But before I could leave, a message arrived. No name, just a video attachment. It was her, again. Sitting somewhere unfamiliar, dim light flickering on her face. "Lois," she whispered. "If you got this, they're already close." Don't trust anyone who says they're helping. Not even me. Static. End. My phone buzzed again. Another text. We need to talk. Tonight. No cops. It was her number, and I couldn't tell if that terrified me more than the SUV outside my window. The message said tonight, but not where. 10 minutes later, another text came through. Coordinates, not an address. By habit, I mapped them. The abandoned shipyard on the east side. The same one where half her movie chase scenes were filmed years ago. Maybe irony was her only sense of control now. Rain blurred the windshield as I drove. The city shrank behind me, glass towers dissolving into black water and rusted cranes. When I pulled in, only one light cut through the fog. An old warehouse with a single door cracked open, flickering yellow inside. She was there, hood up, eyes hollow, hands trembling around a thermos she probably hadn't drunk from. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "You got my video," she said. "Yeah," I breathed. "You said not to trust anyone. Even you," a faint smile. "Smart girl." I stepped closer. "Then why am I here?" "Because you deserve to know what you got dragged into." Her voice broke on dragged. She took a deep breath. "Those names in the folder? They're real. They built everything. The shows, the films, the stars. But they also built something else. A system that keeps people quiet. Every contract hides an NDA that doesn't end. You sign your voice away, sometimes more. And you signed it too?" "I did. I was young. I thought it was standard paperwork. Then I saw what happened to the ones who questioned it." She glanced toward the shadows as if someone might be listening. "I tried to collect proof. That flash drive, the footage, it was supposed to protect me. But the minute I told them I wanted out, people started disappearing." "Calder Reeves?" I asked, her eyes filled. "He tried to help me. He's dead because of it." I felt the air thin. "So what happens to you now?" I run. I disappear before they decide the same for me. Then, softer. "And I needed to see you one last time. To make sure you understood it wasn't your fault." Something inside me cracked. "You can't just vanish again. Let me help." "You can't." She stepped back. "Every time someone helps me, they get hurt. Promise me you'll stay out of this." "I can't promise that." "Lois." A sudden metallic screech cut her off, tires against wet gravel. Headlights flared through the warehouse slats. She grabbed my arm. "They found me." "Who? No time." She shoved a small memory card into my hand. "This is everything left. If I don't make it, tell the truth." Before I could argue, the side door burst open. Dark figures, flashlights. She turned to me once, whispered, "Run." I ran. Footsteps pounded behind me. Shouts, then silence, then the thud of something heavy hitting the floor. I didn't look back. I drove until the highway signs blurred into streaks of white. The memory card felt like it was burning through my pocket. When I finally stopped at a motel miles away, I turned on the TV. Breaking news again. Actress hospitalized after alleged overdose. Photo of her. Same smile. Same perfect hair. The caption underneath, "Condition critical." I sat there until dawn, staring at the screen, wondering whether the overdose was an accident or the cleanup she'd warned me about. The card is still in my hand. I haven't looked yet. I don't know if I want to, because once I see what's on it, there's no going back. The motel room smelled of bleach and rain. A single bulb buzzed overhead, flickering like it couldn't decide whether to live or die. I sat on the bed, the memory card pinched between my fingers. Every instinct screamed, "Don't look." But curiosity, fear, grief, they all sounded the same in my chest. I slid the card into my laptop. Folder after folder appeared. Photos, contracts, recordings, and one video labeled "Insurance," the screen filled with her face, gaunt, eyes rimmed red. "If you're watching this, Lois," she said, "they've made it look like I hurt myself. I didn't. Please don't let them turn me into a headline." Behind her, I could hear voices, someone pounding on a door. She flinched. "There's a file named Echo. Get it out there. That's the proof." The feed cut mid-sentence. I found Echo, a hidden archive of emails, payment logs, and clips showing executives coercing actors, covering assaults, buying silence. Proof that would nuke reputations, maybe careers. Proof people would kill for. My phone vibrated. Unknown number again. "A text, you open it yet?" I killed the lights and peered through the curtains. 2 cars parked outside, engines running, exhaust curling in the wet air. I could feel the camera on me even if I couldn't see it. I shoved the laptop into my backpack and slipped out through the bathroom window. The night was loud, rain hammering, sirens somewhere distant. I drove without headlights until I hit the highway. Somewhere between the 4th and 5th mile marker, I realized what I had to do. I couldn't keep it. I couldn't bury it either. I drove to a small local news station, the kind that still smelled like burnt coffee and truth. A woman at the front desk looked up, startled, when I stormed in soaked and shaking. "I have a story," I said, "and you'll want to hear it." It took hours, questions, phone calls, more questions. I left the card with her. No name, no contact number. Just, if anything happens to me, release everything. By sunrise, I was back on the road, heading nowhere. The city skyline looked smaller, quieter, like it was holding its breath. 3 days later, the world exhaled, every channel, every feed, every trending topic. Her name again, but this time paired with the word whistleblower. The files had leaked, investigations launched, contracts suspended, arrests rumored. They said the memory card came anonymously. They didn't say who delivered it. And then, another headline. Actress in stable condition. Moved to undisclosed location. Alive. Relief and terror tangled in me. If she lived, they'd come for both of us. If she didn't, I'd just lit the match that burned her world. That night, as I checked into another nameless motel, an envelope waited on the counter addressed to me. No return, just my name in her handwriting. Inside, a single note. "You did what I couldn't. Keep running." Weeks passed. Every morning the headlines mutated. Lawsuits, resignations, denials. The world moved on to fresh outrage, but I couldn't. Her voice still lived in my phone, the memory of that night still echoing behind my ribs. Then one evening, my email pinged with a private link. No sender, no subject. Just a single word in the address bar. Final. I clicked. The video opened to a hospital room bathed in blue light. She sat upright in the bed, tubes taped to her wrists, hair uneven where someone had cut it away. But her eyes were clear again. The actress, the woman I'd loved, feared, protected, looked directly into the camera. "Lois," she said, soft but steady. "If this reaches you, then I made it far enough to speak for myself." A pause. A faint smile. "You did what I couldn't. You pulled the curtain down. Don't feel guilty. That truth was never mine to keep." She glanced off screen, then back. "They'll spin this 100 ways, say I was unstable, bitter, addicted. Let them. What matters is that somewhere, a kid signing their first contract might read the fine print because of us." She breathed out slowly. "That's the closest thing to peace I'll ever have." Then she added, almost whispering, "You asked me once if any of it was real." The nights, the laughter, the quiet. It was. You were the only thing that wasn't scripted. The screen faded to black. I sat there for a long time, the hum of the motel's neon sign pulsing through the walls. Outside, rain started again. Soft this time, like the city was trying to wash something clean. They never named her publicly after that. The studios buried her projects. The feeds moved on. But every so often a new article would appear about industry reform, small steps that never mentioned the source. Her fingerprints were on all of them. As for me, I changed my number, moved twice, learned to sleep without checking the window every hour. Some nights I wonder if she's still out there, living under another name, watching the world she helped expose from a distance. Other nights, I imagine she finally found quiet. The truth didn't save either of us. But it mattered, and maybe that's enough. If you were me, if you'd held that drive, seen those videos, known what the truth could cost, would you have opened it?